Absolutely. All right, let's jump right in here. Interesting game. Again, the Luwali. I'm just so happy that finally Luwali is getting its time. I've sort of talked about how it could potentially be good once the meta evens out in terms of spread, and in fact it does. Again, Luwali, one of those times with an insane stat line, but because Gayalis had a heat up and the Luwali doesn't get that, it just wasn't going to be a matchup at all. But now, with Buffduck and Turbi, with their unique squad, we'll see who brings it out, who brings it
and
forward.
Buffduck loving to start off with this neutral Tem here, and you know, neutral against everything, so it doesn't matter what Turbi brings out unless it's a mental Tem. But if you take a look on Turbi, the only potential mental technique coming out would be from the Ninja So with that narcoleptic hit, so no mental pressure. So this move flank might be a shining Tem for Buffduck in these next couple games, we will see. But Yukama and those other Tems, such heavy hitting Tems as well, so those are strong answers. But we'll see. Volarin was taken care of, so we don't get that Volkama start, so has to do it some other way. He has his pick is 2 now, and Buffduck gets a bit of that counter pick.
Of course, in response, Turbi will get that last pick in terms of his composition. So Turbi, losing the Vulnerant does not remove this dynamic duo. Of course, much less so of an impactful dynamic duo, but the Mushuk Ukama setting up for that water cannon damage. Definitely a solid opening. Buffduck, I'm assuming he's probably not going to pick up Volcrane here.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm thinking the Wolfie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
the Barnchy. Okay,
Yes.
I guess the neutrality Barnchy, you don't get the 2 ticks of poison. I was thinking the Wolfie to really pressure out the Yukama, but maybe, and you know, he doesn't. I guess Mashuk with the melee damage. I guess you didn't want the Wolfie to get that damage early on. But it seemed rather okay. But Barnchy, I guess, good too. You get the. I think. Wait a minute. Of course, Barnchy. He needs wind Tems. That's a Platamus in the back. That's a Nidrasil in the back. So yeah, solid pickup there for Buffduck. Knowing if I don't pick this up now, I'm probably not going to be able to pick it up later. So really good understanding for Buffduck.
Yeah, I mean, Turbi knows as well. Wolfie could have been the second choice here, and Buffduck could have taken turn 1 tempo, but decides to have a long haul ready, especially against this Mashuk, especially against this Platamus. So Bans come out here, loses the Gayalis. Turbi, with that Gayalis lost, sort of Buffduck, choreographing that he's going to pick up the mix, and there you go. No Crystal Temp to contest this Barnchy and this mix. We'll see how Turbi goes around that. Luwali and Ninja still picked up here. Of course, the team that Buffduck runs notoriously ignores toxic damage, or at least for the most part, the several Tems on Buffduck's team just ignores status effects altogether. So we'll have to see. Buffduck has Volcrane, Golder, and Baboa as options, but Baboa doesn't look like a pickup here. Most likely,
yeah, definitely not. It's looking like the Volcrane Golder. Golder, a necessary Tem just to have a good swap against all this toxic pressure. So for those allergic spreads, for the potential Urshos as well, really effective eating up water techniques too from the Yukama, from potentially the Platamus too. So I think Golder's a must. Is just a decision against the Volcrane or the Babawa. He's having a tough time, so maybe is considering the Babawa here, perhaps just for solid damage onto the Yukama. And does pick it up. Babawa coming out to play, maybe saying, alright, I dare you to pick up this Wimplump here.
My brain, oh wow.
And he does, he does pick up the Wimplump.
Oh wow.
Alright.
It's just like, oh my god.
So guys, let's get hype in the chat. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. 5 rounds of Swiss. We did game 3 quarterfinals, game 3 semifinals. We have finally made it to our finals. None other than our number 1 seed Buffduck going head to head against our number 2 seed Turbino. So the best of the best coming out to play in this weekly tournament 25. Who will edge it out? This is game 1, so we will have to play a couple to find out. But let's head into that opening turn. Move flank Barnchi going against a Mashuk Yukama.
The final 3 pickups of that draft was literally the equivalent of both players going all in on poker. They're like, my hand is better. No, my hand is better. And here comes the flop. We'll see how it plays out. Of course, Babawa very good at eating those status effects. Can't ignore the embers, the toxic ticks, and the cold ticks. So nothing going the way of status effects, damage, nor hindrance. Of course, Cage is still possible. Of course, Sleep is still possible. But the main 3 forms of control have been removed, at least on the side of Turbi. But of course, the toxic team's not going to make this easy. Barnchi getting swapped out for the Golder. Of course, Golder, the best temp against Turbi, at least for the time being. The Mashuk of Turbi as well going to be swapped out here for the Wimplump. So setting up for a double Tsunami. It's going to be deadly, or at least a Tsunami into a Cold Breeze. Water Cannon connect. Base Jump comes in to slam dunk Yukama. But as I mentioned, Tsunami into Cold Breeze is perfectly reasonable and perfectly possible here.
Yeah, not too bad. Remember, Buffduck, a very strong proponent of this Cage. He's using it back-to-back to perfection. This is 2 Water Tems facing off against a Toxic Tem Golder. Of course, Wimplump does have Tornado online from coming out the previous turn. But is this Cage appropriate here? I don't know if it's true necessary. I feel like the threat of Cage would be enough. I don't think there'll be no swaps here. I think it will be exactly what you said, Blue. The Cold Breeze Tsunami definitely will be outspeeding these Tems if, of course, Wimplump has some speed investment. Yeah, so I don't think you do Cage. I think you just go, you put on the pressure and you keep on the offense if you were the move flank. So no Cage, of course. It will be the Water Cannon, so 44.4%.
Ooh, base jump again, slam dunk, Blizzard thrown out as well onto the Golder, assuming this would do a lot of damage, and a 60% Bernie,
huge,
almost freezing the Golder's fat off. Toxic ain't gonna be thrown out, guarantees the kill on a Wimplump, but Tornado as well will respond in kind. But I don't think this is a worthy trade for Turbi. For sure now, this Wimplump is dead, and Golder can swap out into a Barnchi or a Mix or a Babawa still.
Yeah, not too bad. And you know, the Wimplump is what was pressuring out the Golder, so Golder could just go ahead and retreat now. Wimplump will be brought down from that single poison tick alone. There's no revitalize unless Ninja Seal with the spores, which you can't even set it up in time. Wimplump will be brought down, and now you got to try to deal with the Golder. You do got Lowali with those hypoxias, but Wimplump, we just saw how heavy he hit. He was the one definitely looking at taking it down, especially with that hand fan there. But Buffduck getting a bit better of those trades, but Turbi not letting it go so easy. Both of Buffduck's current board under 50%, so in a bit of that danger zone.
Exactly. So right now, Buffduck and Turbi. I mean, Buffduck for most part will get a secured kill here. This Wimplump is not going to save itself. There's nothing it can do to do so.
Yes, it's going to go down swinging, so it's going to be a Tornado, perhaps Aquatic Whirlwind from the Yukama. The question is, does Buffduck want to leave in the Golder, or do you switch in perhaps the Barnchi to try to eat this Tornado here? Because Golder, we just saw how much a Blizzard did, so it's no question whether the Tornado will bring it down. It's just a matter if it stays in, of course. But Yukama doesn't want to stay in here, so instead it will be the Mashuk to try to eat a Goring perhaps from the move flank.
Buffduck losing, swapping out that Golder, of course, guaranteeing that this Wimplump will be the only casualty of war. But of course that allows a Tornado coming through. This Babawa will punish, at least to do some work. Does above 50%. This Wimplump is so strong in terms of damage output and a base jump. I can't say the same. So Wimplump will be trading its life for over a 10.5's worth of damage, which I would say pretty worth it.
Yeah, I think it was there. I mean, Wimplump doing a good chunk of damage. You just want Tem to output a lot of damage, whether it's just for 2 turns. You know, did 60% on the Golder, did about 60% on the Babawa. That's about as much as you could ask for. So nice job for the Wimplump. It did unfortunately go down. but not without a fight for sure. Heavy hitting hand fan Temtem there. So now the Nidrasil's here, so definitely pressuring out this Babawa.
Yeah, Babawa ain't staying, that's for sure. I mean, or Buffduck could maybe sack it for some stamina, but Toxicking and Arushal isn't the biggest stamina consumption in the world, so maybe not either. It just feels so bad because Babawa's purpose was to deal with these water temp, but one of them was already dead, so I'm not sure if sacrificing it maybe is the better play here, at least to burn some stamina and to divert some attention. But of course, Barnshi's swapping is perfectly reasonable as well. Eat that Toxic Ink with the Barnshi.
Yeah, he might swap it out because I think he might need to save that Babawa for the Yukama. Of course, Mix does a good amount to the Yukama, Golder good amount to the Yukama, so maybe he doesn't necessarily need to keep the Babawa. So we'll see what Buffduck decides. Oh, the cage keeping everything nice and put there. Let's see if Buffduck responded. No, he thought he didn't expect the cage. He did the switch, so base jump gonna be getting the better, but ignoring the Babawa since it's cage.
Wow, saving the best for last. I mean, this is very this is just a security kill now, because both like now in a poor part where you perfect jab and it dies, and Babawa. I mean, you breathe any type of toxic damage, and this Babawa will collapse. So,
yeah,
unfortunately, no way to save it at this point.
Yeah, and the best Buffduck can do right now is a farewell goal ring into Mashuk, into Nidrasil. Not going to be doing a whole lot into either Tem, and Babawa doesn't really have anything. Ice Stalactite, those water Tems is actually going to be, I believe, 1/4 damage on something like Nidrasil, half damage on Mashuk, and the same thing for those nature techniques on the Water Kind Lily. So beautiful cage. We usually give a lot of respect to Buffduck cages, but Turbina with the beautiful cage on the Mashuk, so well done. It should be a guaranteed double kill coming up in this turn 5.
Yeah, so Turbi getting secured 2 kills here. Goring once again, as you mentioned, doing a lot of damage onto the Mashuk, but Mashuk only taking 20% damage every time. It definitely makes it a struggle. Waterkite Lily does 11% damage as well, so both like gonna be secured kill here, and so is Babawa. Goodbye, my old friend. He goes.
Yeah, hello darkness, my old friend. Both Temtems finding that darkness here, returning back to the temp card to rest up for the next couple games. But yeah, solid play for Turbino, eliminating 2 solid threats on Buffduck's side. So 2 Temtems down, 1 on Turbino, but Turbi making a bit of a comeback here.
This is scary though, because the Mashuk is not going to be safe. Nidrasil does have allergic spread, but Barnshi does not care about that. But still, you can swap out the Mashuk for Lowali. And Lowali, I think, is at its peak performance here. Just because the Barnshi and the Mix will not do as much damage. Of course, these spikes and all that mental damage could still pose a threat, but at that point, I think the Lowali at least will get Resin Trap off, or otherwise.
Yeah, so Mashuk feeling that pressure from the Barnshi. I even think a simple Wind Burst might be enough. If of course it's Hypoxia, definitely gonna be enough. But C-Spike onto the Nidrasil for some damage, about 30%, a little bit under that, but Beta Burst, of course, that should be enough. John Cena, the king of wrestling, gonna be brought down to his knees. And now, what does come out? Most likely what you said, Blue. I'm thinking the Lowali looks fairly good here. But maybe Yukama actually, right? Because Yukama not going to be doing a whole lot against Golder in the back, so might as well get some damage while you can.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. Water Cannon also still very, very useful, as well as Aquatic Whirlwind. You can easily Aquatic Whirlwind into the mix, and then, of course, Allergic Spread's been used, so maybe it'd be unfortunate in that circumstance. But aside from that, the Marchi is going to be fine. The mix... Again, Aquatic Whirlwind will do quite a bit.
Yeah, so maybe with the Yukama, about the best time to try to get some good, solid damage onto the Barnchi. Because Nitrosil could most likely deal with the mix with back-to-back allergic spread once the poison or the toxic ticks do expire or, you know, get used up. Because Nitrosil didn't take a whole lot from the Sea Spike, but Barnchy with a Tornado might have something else to say about that. So yeah, things are looking rough for, actually, it's fairly close, but based on the Temtems currently remaining, edge slightly to Buffduck, but things are still very close.
Aquatic Whirlwind does come out here and will do a lot of damage onto the Barnchy actually. Wants to take it out for good. Understandable because the Tornado's going to come out. Yggdrasil will not be the target this time. It will be the Ukama. Takes that solid. Wants Crystal Spikes to secure that bag. And in fact, it will for sure here as Sea Spikes comes in, taking out that Ukama. Gets at least Aquatic Whirlwind off to do some damage. Narco hit. Connects as well. Now threatens the Barnchy's life. Energy Drink, of course, revealed. All that Yggdrasil. Lawali comes in and this is the big, bad, flying Butterfree, I would say.
Yeah.
The Wally can do so much damage here. Barnchy's for sure dead. The mix, probably not, but the Golder is for certainly going to die to hypoxia.
Yeah, you know, if this Lawali, it might carry Turbi to success. It does depend on the speed. Does Barnchy able to get off before Lawali? Because I do think Lawali's trying to gun down the Barnchy just so it doesn't get off anything onto the Yggdrasil, because that's going to be the hardest thing to connect on the Yggdrasil. Crystal Spike, of course, the fastest. Might have to overexert to do so, though. And then Allergic Spread the next turn from the Yggdrasil. So yeah, the number one priority is try to bring down this Barnchy. It's going to be a matter of speed, though. If Lawali's faster, I think it's all good. Actually, even if it goes second, with Lawali being at full HP, I think Turbino, I retract my statement, Turbino's looking pretty good. So Hypoxia does get thrown out and huge damage onto Yggdrasil.
Doesn't kill it though, which is more than enough. Overexert to the Barnchy, that's big. Because then Hypoxia connects on the Golder and it's mixed versus the Lawali. And again, Lawali's stat line is actually incredibly formidable in comparison. So the Lawali with Resin Trap, with Toxic Spores even, or
yeah,
just
it was over. Yeah, the Resin Trap would be enough. Died.
We'll see how this plays out. Turbi versus Buffduck will be incredibly scary, at least for Buffduck here. Has to at least turn it around for a match, and I don't think necessarily his opening play was bad, but more so, I mean, it's so hard to judge like where he went wrong, because I mean, like, he did all he could. Like, there wasn't like a major mistake. I think it was just small.
Oh, wait a minute. What?
Relax, chat. No.
And GG! Buffduck getting the victory over Turbino.
What an amazing match, ladies and gentlemen. What a hype performance. Instantly wins.
Incredible matchup.
With 0 Tems alive, Buffduck takes the victory.
Yeah, these guys are so fast, so professional, we couldn't even see it.
What a precise game played by both players. Literally a 0v0 right until the last minute. Didn't know who would win.
I think it was maybe a misunderstanding on who sends the invite and stuff. Maybe forgetting the blue change that Crema just introduced this week, so it's appropriate.
Yeah, there we go. So I have read it. Okay, so Turbi and Buffduck get their desired, well, maybe not so one much more than the other, but desired sides here. Turbino gets the blue side. Ban the Vulnerant again for the side of Buffduck. And actually both Vulnerants banned for both players, so interesting decisions there.
Yeah, both Vulnerant. We saw Buffduck with that aerobic Vulnerant, so huge threat to Turbino's Toxic Tems, of course.
So, right now, Turbi gets the counter pick, of course. But Buffduck gets last pick. And it's curious because Buffduck actually taking last pick over first pick, which is interesting.
Yeah, you're right. So Buffduck did lose there. So does decide to play on the gold side. So maybe, maybe Buffduck likes the gold side. Maybe for that last counter pick there. But yeah, you're totally right. We usually been seeing it every single time. If you lose, you're automatically getting the more, quote unquote advantageous side, which traditionally was the orange side. But now it's feeling a little bit more the blue side. So he let Turbino have the blue side.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. That's sort of a big statement, isn't it? When people now have preference sides rather than obviously one side is better than the other. Because Turbi gets the first pick, yes, but like, I mean, what's the best play into a Barnshee flank? I mean, Turbi still has to decide what the best way to deal with it is. Of course, had to pick up Ninja first because he had no idea what Buffduck was going to play. So again, now there's advantages and disadvantages on both sides. Buffduck now gets to choose what he wants to counteract the last two picks for Turbi is. And of course, the ban there, Gaialis removes. Turbi, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a mixed ban this time. I believe Wolfie was removed previously. So mixed ban might be okay here. I would be surprised if Bubble was banned, especially in a toxic team like his. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, maybe scared of those Warka and Lilies heading into Yukama and Wimplum's direction. But you know what? I think Golder did end up doing a little bit. Golder actually eats up those toxic pressures. So maybe instead of banning the Bubble Wall, maybe eyeing that Golder. I think Turbino might be onto that there. But does decide with the Wolfie, just like he did in game number 1.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't want to change anything drastically here. Doesn't want to allow the Wolfie in the first place. Of course, that could leave Ukama exposed, especially if he wants to pick up Wimplum down the line. Remember, the reason why Turbi picked up Wimplum was because the Wolfie wasn't there and he could blizzard the Golder to death. He did 60% damage with a single blizzard. That Wimplum is definitely not a slouch. But now Turbi is forced to pick up the last two picks. So Buffduck gets a counter pick here, either Babua or that Volcrane, depending on this last choice. Platypus is picked up, so he's basically telling Buffduck, you better pick that Babua because Volcrane isn't fun.
Yeah, Volcrane, I mean, effective into Ninja, effective into Lawali, but 4x damage from Yukama, Platypus, and the Wimplump. And then Babua fairly good into those 3 temps we just mentioned. So Babua looking like the solid pickup, but we said that before and Buffduck threw us for a loop there, but does decide Babua we're finding ourselves in game number 2. Will Buffduck bring it back, or Turbino crown for the very first time a champion here in these Plus Tournament series? Let's head right into it. So Nidraso, of course, being paired with Yukama, you got the good old water cannon with the toxic synergy, so most likely headed into Mooflang's direction.
Yeah, water cannon, and of course toxic ink gonna do significant damage onto the Buffduck here. Just going to do a lot of solid damage on the Mooflang. I mean, the Barnshee as well could be effective, but of course neutrality is going to prevent any shenanigans that way, so for sure here probably going to go the other direction.
Yeah, and Barnshee, of course, effective against the Nidraso, so could just throw out a clean wind burst just for some solid damage, but maybe wants to gun down Yukama. Actually, no, I feel like Nidraso, since you have the mix, since you have the Babawa, maybe slightly more problematic versus the Yukama. So gunning down Nidraso early on doesn't seem too bad, but Barnshee not liking his position, going straight into the Babawa, facing off the Nidraso here. We'll see what's going down. So Mooflank does get hit with that water cannon as expected. Base jump into the Yukama, so prioritizing that one, but Toxic Ink, imagine if it went the other way, but of course he wanted to double the Mooflank there.
Now water cannon Lily available, of course Toxic Ink still oppressive, but Ninja still going to be able to go after the Babawa. And the thing is, Turbi, I don't think he minds swapping out here. I mean, Babawa stays in the Watercolor Lily, Platypus, sure, but no cage! So,
Oof.
again, just making sure to
Wait a
secure that
minute.
kill for Okama, but no swap out. Ukama stays in, so perhaps Turbi read this moment. So most likely secured dead, and
Wow.
Babawa gets the Watercolor Lily off, but this is a 2-for-1 special, and unfortunately doesn't favor the side of Buffduck. He has to win this. Toxic Ink is thrown out, so Babawa not going to die actually. The Toxic Inks are going to slowly diminish it. Took the mask, saving it for now. But caged in like a trapped animal. Buffduck trades 1-for-1, but not for long.
Yeah, so maybe just want the cage to guarantee the Ukama kill, so not too bad. It does come at the expense of that move flank and the Babawa, but Lawali gets brought in here, so solid answer. Okay, just solid Temtem in general. Barnchi, of course, to punish down the Nidrasil that's locked in here. But Babawa as good as dead from perhaps just one little allergic spread, but that's just for the Babawa because Barnchi is neutrality as we keep seeing time and time again. So not going to be taking those whole 3 ticks of poison damage.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was... Actually, Lawali doesn't do that much here. Only Resin Trap
Oh,
could do damage.
Buffduck!
Doesn't do anything with the Babawa. It's trapped in Buffduck. Not like this. Hypoxia connects on the Nidrasil, but the Babawa is dead without even a contestation. Not even a WCL thrown out. Absolutely disastrous blunder. Neutrality prevents toxic ticks from applying, but 30% damage on a Barnchi is plenty. Mix comes in, so EM gets synergy, but
yeah,
what a
slight blunder there. Perhaps, you know, Buffduck very good players, so perhaps just a small amount of fatigue settling in. I know we've been going at this tournament for quite some time, so yeah, slight little fatigue getting in the way of Buffduck there. But you know, it wouldn't have done too much. Watercolor Lily wouldn't have done a whole lot, but you know, damage is damage as we always say, so better than nothing. But hey, that was a small mistake. It's not a game breaking or anything, so we'll see Buffduck staying cool and collected, trying to bring things around against Turbino while he's pushing forward.
So at this point in the matchup, Turbi still could still slip up here. Of course, Buffduck, the 3 temps still available, can do a lot here. The Whipple will be swapped in here into this Barnchi mix. Crystal Spike's going to be thrown out as well. They're going to do some solid work. And Maiden Burst as well will be thrown out here. Going to do some solid damage onto the Whipple. That's 37.5%, drops it low. The Resin Trap going to keep the mix in. Doesn't do enough to put it into Puppet Master range, unfortunately. But Grease, I almost forgot, prevents it from being trapped so.
Yeah, so
Tornado.
won't be trapped here. And Bernie the Wimplump does of course have a heavy hitting tornado. We saw how crazy damage it is with that hand fan, most likely max special attack. So 1 tornado, 57% on the mix. Not looking too good. I mean, either the mix will be brought down or it's going to be the Golder in the back line. A Blizzard did like 70% on the Golder, so we could be expecting about the same thing from the tornado, of course. So doesn't have a clean swap if he does want to retreat the mix here, because it's only the Toxic Tem in the back.
Yeah, the Golder's not going to have fun with that. EM actually goes first, so does a decent chunk of damage, sets it up for the Crystal Spikes, and in fact it does go first, so Wimpum will not even get the chance to use that Blizzard or use that Tornado. Will go down beforehand. And so Wally will Allergic Spread instead, does some decent damage, actually puts a mix in Puppet Master range, so not the most ideal situation there for the side of the Turbinos. Helps the enemy instead. But still, Platypus and just still in the back. Most likely Platypus can be swapped in here. Again, this Barnchi probably enemy number 1. If you take him out, you have a very, very big chance of bringing it back. But of course, the Barnchi and the mix are quite fast. So we might see a potential double up here in the Nidrasil. and that will complicate a lot of things.
Yeah, about the same thing, just a solid crystal spike as we've been seeing the mix do. It will be his last crystal spike as it might have to overexert a tad bit to do so, or it will just have to rest or heavily overexert the following turn. And Barnchy of course will be faster than Nidrasil, so something like Wind Burst followed by a crystal spike should be enough for the Nidrasil. So then it's just going to be the Platymus Lowali trying to get the job done. Platymus feels okay into Barnchy, especially a Barnchy pretty low. I know Barnchy heavy hitting into the Platymus. Oh, Barnchy will overexert. Is Hypoxia enough? Yes, it is. Barnchy with that hand fan. Insane.
Here's that kill, but of course, overexertion, as you mentioned. The Lowali actually rests on the side of Turbino, so Platymus and the Golder... Platymus and the Lowali will do a lot here. This Golder has to eliminate this Lowali with Hypoxias and damage, but Buffduck going to swap out the Mix here. So Mix going to be coming in, Hypoxia thrown out, so the Golder will be punished severely. Takes almost 50% of its damage, just slightly above. Urushiel though, gonna make sure another Hypoxia will secure that kill. Very smart choice. But Toxic Ink as well, trading the Lowali, and this is getting a bit scary because Barnchy is still alive in the back, and Hypoxia is going to kill Golder for sure, but I'm not sure if that will be enough.
Yeah, you could get the kill on the Golder, however, mixed with the Crystal Spike, it should be bringing it into that Toxic Tick range at 12.5%. So then it's going to be Platymus versus Barnchy Golder. Things might be close, but Platymus has nothing in his move kick to deal with the Golder, so little by little, and you know, vice versa though, Golder doesn't have anything for the Platymus, so it might leave it up the heavy lifting for the Mix or the Barnchy, but those are getting dangerously low. We saw how much allergic spread did on the Mix. I didn't actually see exactly, is 32% as much as that allergic spread did. It did do a chunk of, you know, I brought it from like 60% into the toxic, or sorry, into the Puppet Master range. So maybe an allergic spread could get it done, because you can't target it, of course.
There's still a Barnchy in the back as well, which scares me, because you could swap out the Golder for the Barnchy, Crystal Spikes the Lowali, and if Lowali dies to Toxic Ticks, then you're against Golder Mix as a Platymus. That is scary, especially if you don't have Tsunami or the like, because then the Mix will pummel you with C-Spikes.
Alright, so and Golder does retreat, so Barnchy most likely just sacrificing himself for the Golder. It will be the C-Spike. Does this take down the Lowali? No, it doesn't, and the Poison Tick not enough either.
It survives, so Hypoxia will be thrown out here to punish the Barnchy, at least for the time being. And the Platymus, if it does kill the Mix with a Tsunami, it is all curtains. We'll see if it is enough. We will... No, it lives. At 8.2% HP, Lowali also survives, however, so this Golder could be eliminated with a Hypoxia overexertion, and this Mix, there's no way it survives a Platymus, a Sharp Rain, or Aquatic Whirlwind.
Yeah.
All that matters now is the turn order.
Exactly. Well, the turn order favoring the 3 prio Mix. Of course, Lowali no 3 prio to his name. However, this is a game of overexertion here. Mix probably wants to overexert, but goes with the EM, of course. 3 prio alone, taking the Lowali down.
Oh no, the Golder, now a wall. But of course, Toxic ain't gonna come out, Actually, that does neutral damage because it's a water toxic, which means that Platymus is actually in a disadvantage here. Tsunami can kill the Mix, sure, but how are you gonna deal with Golder, huh? Water cannons? This is so scary.
Yeah, he needs the neutral technique ASAP. But yeah, Tsunami we just saw a hat, so Crystal Spike will be Mix going out on his own terms, so almost 50%. Now it's the 1v1 Tsunami. Let's see where it's at. 44.4.
Oh, it's not enough.
6%
damage. This is 15%. It's just not enough. This Platymus is
Golder wins these. Oh, Golder, the big boy Golder. Exactly why you stay cool and collected despite having a bit of a hiccup here. Golder
God.
should be getting this. Aquatic Whirlwind. Oh.
It does 12%. It's just not enough. This Golder doing neutral damage to the Platypus will be doing it.
Yeah.
He's doing it. He's beginning to believe there's nothing the Platypus can do against this Golder with basically all of its HP. Flood is used just as a last hurrah, but it overexerts the Platypus, going out on its own terms there.
But this is it, guys. The very last game of this entire tournament today. 25 or tournament 25. Will it be Buffduck as our champion today, or will it be Turbino? Both of these, actually wait, Buffduck has been crowned champion before, so Buffduck looking at a 2-time champion. Turbino, however, looking at a first ever champion for these tournament series. I think he took a couple tournaments in the past, but it's gonna be a treat to see it. Both of these teams, so nice to see, of course. But let's see what they're bringing to the table for the very last game. And it looks like Turbino liking playing on the blue side, so giving Buffduck that orange side one more time. But he just won game 2 on orange side, so Turbi has to play this sharp.
Yeah, look at that. So Turbi, I mean, as you mentioned, picking blue side. So both players on their optimal colors. So whatever goes, goes in this position. Ukama, first pick by Turbi. Oh.
I mean, Buffduck has been going with what's been working. He's been going with Mooflake Barnchy. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes with his gut there. Mooflake Barnchy been doing a lot of work against Turbino, so Mooflake Barnchy it is. I mean, hey, it's been working so far in this tournament. It just worked in game number 2. So how does Turbino with the blue side try to counter this? He doesn't have anything directly, of course, no mental Tems on his team against that Mooflake.
Now, Yggdrasil, Ukama in the opening. This is the exact same opening as previous games. Buffduck and Turbi have yet to change playstyles. And ooh, the Golder ban by Turbino.
Okay, leaving the Wolfie on the bench here. So yeah, Turbino switching it up. Is this the secret sauce against Buffduck? Is this how you throw Buffduck a little bit out of routine? He loves to pick up the Golders, so yeah, banning it. Now it might, you know, it could come back to bite him, leaving the Wolfie up. But maybe not electing to go Wimplum, perhaps. We will see. But Wolfie was the bans in the previous 2 games, so we'll see how that impacts game number 3.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is gonna be incredibly spooky, considering that the mix picked up again. But a bigger concern. Oh, Volcrane! That's brave! That's incredibly brave by Buffduck.
Yeah, he has to be careful with it. Of course, with those water Tems, that's 4x damage, but Volcrane doesn't look all that bad, right? Effective into Lawali, effective into Yggdrasil. So it's just about not getting caught on the board. Both of these tamers access to cage, and yeah, bringing in that only cage user with the Mashok. Buffduck starting off with the cage user in that move flank. But yeah, team is looking relatively the same except for the Wimplump there. So swapping in the Mashok for the Wimplump from the previous game, I believe.
Yeah, so Wolfie in a precarious spot here will be picked up instead here by Buffduck. So Buffduck versus Turbi, game 3. We'll see who takes the crown and who brings it home.
Yeah, one of these will be bringing it home to their I guess clubs. One of them bringing it home for sure. Is it Buffduck? Is it Turbino? It's everything on the line. Do or die time. It's game number 3. That is what we're finding ourselves in. So the opener that Buffduck has been using for quite the majority of this tournament, or at least the times we've been spectating, the classic move flank Barnchy is his dynamic duo of choice, and Turbino, none other than Yukama, obviously really good. He's been focusing down the move flank from the previous turns, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does it again. And Buffduck has been focusing down the Yukama here. He actually didn't leave in the Barnchy that first turn, so if it's anything like it was the previous game, a double into move flank for Turbi. And then Buffduck swapped, I believe, the Barnchy for, oh, what was it? Oh, the Baba Wall, that's what it was. He did turn 1 swap, but here it is. So Water Cannon with the Toxic Synergy connecting on the move flank.
Ooh, Hypoxia connects as well. Ninja will take more than half damage. And base jump, securing a lot of output as well. Toxic ain't gonna be thrown out on the Barnchy just as damage, so the trade definitely in favor of Buffduck this time. Turbi already almost losing its Ninja down.
Yeah, already a different ball game here, because Ninja was left rather alone. I thought the Ninja was a bit more problematic. But you know, with the Wolfie pickup, now you have an answer to the Yukama, so focusing down the Ninja seems like the right choice for Buffduck. And look at that, down under 20%, so anything takes this Ninja down. Of course, the Hypoxia doing over 50%, but something nice and easy like a 3 Prio Gorin as well will bring it down. And nothing in the back line wants to eat it too well, except I guess a Lawali if we're talking that Hypoxia. But maybe we might split some damage here. Perhaps Buffduck is considering Goring Ninja spot and then Hypoxia Yukama slot just for the damage. And what does Turbi think? Perhaps it's a heavy aquatic whirlwind, but going with the Tsunami, so no swaps here. Tsunami just pedal to the metal, both teams trying to get out the most they can. So Beta Burst on the Yukama.
Yeah, Beta Burst lands, but some decent work there. Base jump connects on the Ninja, and now the pickoff is severe. But the damage has been done on the Barnchy and the Mof. Like, this might be a very, very big loss of HP down the line if it stays like this.
Yeah, so Yukama, if you guys notice, has not used the Aquatic Whirlwind just yet, so that 3 Prior Aquatic Whirlwind is online, and it might be enough for both of these temps to go down. Move flank certainly, Barnchy a little bit more up in the air, but Barnchy not the most special defensive, so could be brought down from that 44%. So Aquatic Whirlwind trying to decide where to go into. Anything in the back line, it connects with it quite handily, so not too bad if it does catch a swap out there. But no one punishing the Yukama in those first 2 turns. He's still relatively healthy, looking pretty good here.
Yeah, so the Lawali, unfortunately, Hypoxia is still available to maybe pick off the Moflank. No speed has been added. The Ninja still lost is a full 10, but the HP lost is more than a full 10. Absolutely devastating amounts here. The Ukama could still Aquatic Whirlwind, Water Cannon as well. Of course, the bigger deal is the fact that Ninja no longer can Toxic Ink the Wolfie, but there's still Platypus and Buffduck, of course, with the Rushials and otherwise melee damage. So Turbi, 1 temp down, but he has to capitalize on the fact that Buffduck is 1 shot away on 2 temps, and so Buffduck understands this. Marching will be swapped out here for the Mix, and Mix will be coming in. So that will be that, and the Mix with the Wolfie as well. So just setting up for the EM down the line as well, synergy bonus. But Aquatic will come out. We'll see what that throws into. If that's a Wolf, like the Wolfie will take that as neutral damage on top of a hypoxia. Actually, that's major. The Wolfie is gonna take so much damage, but of course that hypoxia did not do enough to really prove that you can double up the Wolfie again here.
Yeah, for sure. Yukama definitely feeling the threat there from that plague. But hypoxia, I didn't see where it ended after that quad row, and I didn't see is a hypoxia enough for that final 30%. I feel like it's gonna be close. I think it did somewhere a little bit under that 30%.
Let me trying to remember what it was. So so I believe it did it did do 32% damage. It did do 32%
He could
damage,
of course
so
go with resin trap too.
Yeah.
A little bit more damage, but Yukama not scared of the mixed cage. It goes with the swap, but swaps into Platypus, but Wolfie saying no, you're not going to kill me so easy. Swapping into Barnchy. We'll see that's going to be catching the resin trap, so Crystal Spike intended for the Yukama.
Ooh.
Getting the Platypus, so solid 30%, but it was the hypoxia.
Yeah, it was going to kill the Wolfie, but unfortunately the Barnchy swapped in there to take that hit. Now Luwali out of stamina, could resin trap, but again, as we mentioned, will overexert then. Platypus will steal grease off of Mix. That's actually big, because the Moshuk has a cage. Could potentially cage to try and kill off the Mix that way, but there's just a lack of damage for Turbi. There's no Gaialis here, so there's no crystal double damage against the Mix. So even though grease was stolen, it's not going to matter too much.
Yeah, so potential attacks coming out from Turbino. Quadra Whirlwind of course is online. Resin Trap is online for Lawali. Mix still chilling back with some heavy Crystal Spike. Barnchy coming in last turn does guarantee it to have a Tornado online. Platypus doesn't want to eat those, so depending on the speeds here, is the Quadra Whirlwind faster than Barnchy Tornado or vice versa? I don't know if Tornado is going to be enough for 70%, but it might be pretty close. Oh, the mixed cage. Okay. I think this is for the backline, so knowing Barnchy most likely will go down here. Let's see how much it's going to do. 70%.
Oh, the Porta survives.
Yeah, it was close, and we got our answer. Barnchy indeed faster, but is a Quadra Whirlwind enough? Surely it is. So the cage intending for the back line. What does he have in mind? I guess the Volcrane feels okay. Actually, no, if it's a Yukon, no. Yeah, the Volcrane actually did look okay, right? Because Crystal Spike or Energy Manipulation should put the rest the Platypus. And then you got just some heavy fire techniques headed Lawali's way.
Yeah, but then you resin trap the Volcrane, so you swap into Ukama to water cannon the Volcrane. That's a plan here. And Volcrane is way too slow to kill the Luwali with a Flame Meteor right next turn. Embers will be Luwali will be fine with taking with Embers here. That's the problem. Buffduck now allows Luwali to resin trap the Volcrane, so even if the Platypus does go down, it'll still be it won't be trivial trying to kill off this Luwali, especially with Ukama still doing significant damage. And I mean, Ukama's damage is unbiased. He will water cannon everything until it dies. So EM will be forced out here to kill off the Platypus. Will secure that kill. Of course, nothing the Platypus could do in that scenario, but a resin trap will make sure that the Volcrane stays in. And look at that burn damage. It's impactful, but if the Volcrane is stuck in here, which it will be, it will not matter next turn. The Crystal Spikes will not do 42% damage for sure, not even 44%.
Yeah.
Which
I think it does like around half, a little bit more than half of the remaining H pool. But yeah, the resin trap doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's in its name, trapping the Volcrane in. So Yukama, a simple water cannon, should be putting down the Volcrane. It won't be able to outspeed. I don't think Ninja Jutsu's online. It might need one more turn for that. If it did, it could go down with a final little hoorah to go down. But I just don't think it's online just yet. One more turn it needs, but it's not going to be able to get off that one more turn thanks to Turbino's Yukama.
Yeah, but still, I believe this is the first time Volcrane has been on the board, and it's the first time it's going to be off the board as well. So Turbi's gonna swap into the Buffduck as well. So this water cannon, even if it doesn't kill a Volcrane, somehow it will do enough. And the mix overexerts as well. That's big. Embers connects on the Buffduck as well. So water cannon will be thrown out. A very fast Volcrane. The mix is overexerted, and the Toxic Tank's gonna drop it to below
Puppet Master
range. But Tsunami is available, so you can just Tsunami here because any swap in from the side of Buffduck will still be a lose-lose situation. But Shook Uppercut will devastate Volcrane on top of a Tsunami, so
yeah.
I mean,
either Tsunami and then uppercut the Volcrane spot just in case the Volky tries to get cheeky in here to try to catch, you know, Team Elusive the Tsunami there. I think that's the best line to play, right? Tsunami, uppercut the Volcrane spot does not seem too bad. He could go for a cage, but it almost seems unnecessary here. I feel like the threat of cage might be enough rather. So I don't know. I don't think you necessarily need the cage. Yeah, it'll be nice just to confirm the kill, but I think if you just double that spot, if you just Tsunami like you said, Blue, and then uppercut the Volcrane spot, there's nothing that really wants to eat that, right? Wolfie won't take damage from Tsunami, but it should be enough for 30% on that uppercut. Turbino looking like he has a hold on this game against Buffduck, looking fairly close, but Mix retreating for the Wolfie. Ninja Jutsu though, it has to kill.
Yeah.
It does not.
Does it kill? No, it doesn't. 8.3% damage to Tsunami. Choo Choo will flood apart this Volcrane. Goodbye, my friend. An uppercut from the Buffduck is still going to do devastating amounts of damage, and it will do so. Goodbye, Wolfie, and Buffduck down to the last two Tems against Ukama, Luwali, Mashuk with a mixed bow flank. These are two tough cookies, but I mean, you know what they say, as the cookie crumbles, there's still aquatic whirlwind, and there's still an uppercut available. So even if the bow flank uses goring, it's not even sure if the Ukama is going to go faster, and in fact it won't. Aquatic Whirlwind will be thrown out. The Mo flank will be taking that to the face. It's unable to do anything there. Hail Mary play was not successful, and the EM will make sure the Ukama goes down, but only slows down the inevitable. There's no stamina on this mix either. Uppercut.
So close. Buffduck. Oh my god, so close. But ladies and gents, we have ourselves a new champion in the house, and that is